Okay, back to Mishlei. Looks like we already have twice the number of people this week as we did last week. Last week was a low numbers week, even though we got good ideas. All right, we're up to Mishlei 16:17. Mesilas Yesharim sur Meira, Shomer Nafsho Notzer Darko. And I think the only foreign word is Mesila. So who would like to try to translate this?
To the route or highway, it says.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
do highway.
a
And by the way,
straight
I did not. I thought Mesila was just a path, but at least according to this BDB dictionary, it says raised way or highway, public road, never of street in city. So it's not just a synonym for a path. I think the root is um, from smooth. I think from salal. I think so like something that is like specifically paved. I guess like a paved way might be a modern one. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. So the highway of
uh straight ones
yeah, let's just say the upright.
with the
Uh,
upright.
yeah,
Turns from evil.
yeah. So I think the way to read this is the way highway with the upright is like turning from evil, meaning that is the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Turn from evil. Let's just say bad, evil, or harm, because we're not sure which one it is. Okay, Shomer Nafsho Notzer Darko.
And the one who guards his soul
Hmm.
um protects his way. Not sure what
Yeah,
note.
so this is I think Notzer and Shomer are synonyms. So we'll say protect is good. Protects his way. Yeah. Okay. I think there's also another way to translate that other one. Alternatively, um, one who protects his way guards his soul. I think that's a an inherent ambiguity in Hebrew. You could read it either way. Okay, so we have Sadi. So there's no Metzudas Tzion. Sadigon says, Shehei ha'adam hashomer es nafsho shomer drachav. So he takes it in one direction and clarifies that. He says that a person, sorry, that the person who guards his soul guards his ways, plural. And then the Targum Ksuvim is Shvila Detritze Miste min bishta udamazhar nafshe natar. Okay, so that's just a straight translation. Okay, then we got the English translations here, which are, oops, hold on a second here. English translations say, Art Scroll, the paved road of the upright is turning from evil. One who keeps his way guards his soul. Yeah, so Art Scroll takes it like reverses them, like my second translation. Refer says the ascending course of the upright, ascending course. I don't know if that means like just uphill or what? The ascending course of the upright is avoidance of evil. He who watches his way protects his soul. Okay, so he also reverses them. And then Alter says the upright's highway is to swerve from evil. Who guards his life will watch his way. Yeah, watch, I think, in the sense of guard, like a watchman, not watch like observing with your eyes. Okay, so let me do this. Let me copy and paste the translations into the chat. So you can have them there, and then we'll start with our analysis. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put these upstairs. Okay, so what are the questions here? Yeah, Ella.
What is Mesilas Yesharim? What does it
Yeah.
mean?
So let's break it down. Let's just say what is a mesila? Okay, sorry, mesila, a highway or paved road. Okay, presumably this is a metaphor, right? So not a literal road. So like what differentiates this from a derech path, which is used in the second half of the pasuk? Okay, then specifically, what? Well, actually, okay, let's break down to three questions. Okay, what is a yashar? Okay, and this is yesharim. Okay, what is a yashar in this context? And then what exactly is the path of the Yesharim? Now, the pasuk itself answers that, but I guess what does I guess how is turning from Ra, and I'm gonna go ahead and keep the ambiguity here. Ra, the path of the upright. How is turning from Ra the path of the Yesharim? Yeah, Isaiah.
So I guess we don't know what either half means yet, but it seems like two halves are saying something pretty similar. It kind of sounds like they're saying the same thing. So what's the difference between them?
Okay, so what is the relationship between the two halves? Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I did not see it that way, and the reason why I didn't see it that way is because the first half seems to be talking about a specific type of person, whereas the second half doesn't mention a type of person. So I guess we can make that into a question also, which is what kind of person is the second half talking about? Is it still talking about a Yashar, or about anyone, or about a specific type of person who goes unnamed? Yeah, Mom.
Okay, so a highway is a paved road. So, and of course, I think of smoother roads. So,
Yeah.
what was involved in the preparation for making it from a bumpy, rocky road to a smooth road? Who did the preparation and I guess the process? Because they're actually differentiating the surface.
Right.
I mean, it means somebody has done the work before you travel on the road.
Okay, so what makes, I guess, what accounts for the smoothness of the Mesilah in contrast to the mere derech, which is presumably not smoothed out? Okay, Reza?
What is the relationship between the bad, evil, and harm and the highway itself? Like, is that inherent to the highway?
Yeah.
Is it somewhere off the path?
Okay, so that's a good question. So let's say, first of all, what is the Ra that the first half refers to? Is it general or specific? If it's specific, what is its relationship? Well, I guess either way. Either way, what is the relationship between the Ra and the Mesilah? Is this like, I guess is the Ra something that we'd expect to find on a Mesilah? Is the turning from Ra what makes the Mesilah? Is the Ra like unnatural to a Mesilah? So again, those are just possibilities. I don't know. There's all the possibilities, but what's the relationship between the Ra and the Mesilah is the main question. Yeah, Ayala.
This may be more of just a shop question, but Mesilas Yesharim, does that mean the highway that makes one into a
Oh,
Yashar?
that's a really good
Or is
question.
it like a Yashar walks on this or goes on
Okay.
this way?
Right. Okay. So that actually, how do we read the term Mesilas Yesharim? Is this the path that one takes to become a Yashar, or the path that Yesharim walk on once they are already Yesharim, or something else? Yeah, that's an important question. Rivki?
Yeah, so I also was gonna ask that, like, where is it leading? Like, it's
Yeah,
just,
that's another good thing. Right.
and then the other question I had was, I think like this just could be me, likely it's me projecting, but I feel like when I think of the terminology of like shomer, like to guard,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm thinking of it in more like a negative connotation. Like I know it's probably not, but I just feel like it's very strong language. Like, is it a positive thing here? Like, what does it actually mean to like shomer in this context? And like
Right.
shomer from what?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that is going to be here. What does shomer, okay, guard, guard imply? Guard from what? Okay. And you're right, is that shomer implies that there's some negative or some harm or some threat, So yeah, we need to figure that out. Yeah, Ariel?
I was reading the first side of the pasuk again. It's funny because it seems like it's a little like low level, like the pathway for the upright
Yeah, that's a good question.
away. It's just away from the rod. It's just like it's a little sad. Is that it?
Okay, that's
It's
a
not,
good question.
it's not so hard for me. Let's do it, but
Okay, that's a good question. I actually want to take a look and see where else Mishlei talks about Sur Meirah. Why am I not finding my Google Chrome? That's weird. Google Chrome is not opening? Huh. That's strange. I was just using it right before. Oh, it's here. Okay, weird. All right, anyway, I just want to see where else Mishlei uses the term Sur Meirah. I know Mishlei uses it a lot, but let's see how much. Sur Meirah. And then I'll formulate a question after that. Okay, so Sur Meirah. Mishlei uses it, not a ton, 6 times. So we have Al tihi chacham be'enav, yira es Hashem v'sur meirah. Don't be wise in your own eyes, fear Hashem and turn from Ra. Mishlei 4:27. Al tate yaminu small. Okay, that's a different one. Mishlei 13:19, which we did on a Monday night, I guess a couple years ago or last year. Ta'ava nihya terav lenefesh. An immediate pleasure is sweet to the soul. V'tuavas kasilim sur meirah. And fools hate or loathe turning away from Ra. So that's actually one that really supports what you're saying, Ariel. That if fools hate turning from bad, then is turning from bad really that much of an accomplishment? Okay, and then Mishlei 14:16. This is the first pasuk I always teach in every Mishlei class for high schoolers. Chacham yareh v'sar meirah. A wise man fears and turns from Ra. Uksil misaber agoteach. But a fool makes himself enraged and is confident. Mishlei 16:6. B'chesed ve'emes yichupar avon. We did this earlier this year. Through kindness and truth, iniquity is atoned. Uviyiras Hashem sur meirah. And in fear of Hashem, turning from evil. I don't even know how to grammatically read that. And then you have our pasuk, and that's it. Yeah. Okay. So the question is, let's see, where is this going to go? Turning from evil, from Ra, okay, is nice, but sounds like a rather low bar. Okay. Mishlei, what did we just say? Mishlei, no. What did we just see? Oh yeah, 13:19 and 14:16. 13:19 and 14:16. I guess Mishlei 13:19 identifies turning from Ra as, or I guess not turning from Ra as a trait of a Mishlei fool, and 14:16 identifies turning from Ra as a hallmark of a Mishleic chacham. So it's strange to identify this as the highway of the Yesharim, which sounds like it should be higher. Okay. For some reason, I am only now getting what Isaiah said. Relation between the two halves, which was the second half doesn't seem to be adding much to the first. I don't know why that question didn't register in my mind when you first said it. Okay. Yeah. I assume Ariel's hand is left up from before, so I'm going to go back to Isaiah.
Yeah. So we kind of asked this already, but I think it could be highlighted. Like Mesilas Yesharim, it's saying that this is a better quality road than a normal road.
Right.
So like in terms of what is it a better quality? Mm-hmm. It seems to be better, improved in like the improvements in what, vector.
Okay. So in what way is the Mesilah superior to the derech? Good. Yeah, Ayala.
What does nefesh mean in this context?
Right.
Is it like physical health, like life,
Okay,
or
right? That's a good question. Okay, so yeah, this is always the classic question for nefesh. Okay, so what does nefesh, soul, mean in this context? And there's usually three meanings, three like go-to meanings. Is it a synonym for life, or does it refer to one's intellect, or does it refer to one's animalistic desires? Because it could be able to mean anything. Yeah, that's a question. Yeah, Reza?
What happens if you fail at to follow this advice? What is the alternative?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what is, I guess, what are the opposites or alternatives to the two halves of this pasuk? Right. Are those, I guess, are those different highways and paths, or none at all? Where do they lead? What happens? Yeah. Okay, Rivki?
So I'm not sure if this is technically what question 5 is asking, but is the turning from Ra and the one who's guarding his soul, like, are they protecting slash turning from like the same thing, or are they completely different situations that they're trying to avoid?
Right. I think that's kind of what Isaiah was getting at. So I'm going to add that to here. About the second half doesn't seem to be adding much to the first. Is, for example, is the person protecting? I guess is the one who protects his nefesh the same? I guess doing the same thing as the one who turns from Ra. Yeah. Okay. Are we missing anything here? Mesilas Yesharim sur me'ra. Shomer nafsha notzadaga. I guess I kind of want to understand what is the Hava Amina. Or not what is the Hava Amina. I guess, okay, who's the audience? Okay. Who is the audience of this pasuk? Okay, meaning who needs to hear this and why, right? So for example, we saw that the Ksil hates turning away from Ra, so he's definitely not out for it. But you would think that most people would want to turn away from Ra. So are they, so for example, if it's clearly someone who is not naturally inclined to turn from Ra. Okay, but is that, but why? Is it because they can't see it, or because they get overwhelmed by their emotions, or because they think they're not subject to it, or something else? Yeah, Ayala.
I mean, this just adds to that question, but practically, what does this look like? Like, in what situation
Right.
would this apply?
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's do this here. What is the decision-making scenario? What is the specific decision-making scenario? If this is, I'm sorry, if this is even talking about one, what does this? I guess I'll make the practical question a separate question at the end, which is, practically speaking, what does it look like to implement this in real life? Yeah. Okay. I'm actually going to recopy and paste the pasuk into the chat because I think I added stuff here. And then let me now just copy and paste the questions. We're going to probably need 3 halls here. Let's see. Number 1. Oh, even hall number 1 didn't make it. Okay. So we got 1 through 5. Then we got, let's do 6 through 9. Is that going to work? Yeah. Okay. So 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And then 10 through 14. Okay, let's see. 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay. So this is a difficult pasuk. Very, very general. And I think what I might do actually before we have our thinking minute and I'm only gonna. I feel kind of obligated to give a working definition of a yashar, because that's a Mishlei jargon term, and so I think I will. And in fact, we had this. I just want to refresh my memory here. We had this in our morning Mishlei shiur fairly recently. Was it last week? Let's see. Last week, we did. Yeah. No, it was 2 weeks ago. Yesharim. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna give two working definitions of yashar. Okay, so there's the oh, actually, you know what? I saw this. Hold on just a second. I actually saw this. Those of you who follow my Substack will know that I have mentioned this before, and Rifki knows about this because we talked about it recently. Is Rabbeinu Bachya on every parsha begins every parsha with a Devar Torah about from Mishlei, and then he connects it to the parsha. So, let me just see. He had a good definition of yashar recently. I just don't remember which parsha it was. Let's see here, and it was in line with the definition that we've been using, but he just expressed it clear. Okay, it wasn't. What was that? I just clicked on Chai Sarah. Was it Toldos? Let's see. No, it wasn't Toldos. Was it Vayetze? This week's parsha? Yes. Okay, I guess I read it for this week. So he says, "V'yadua ki hayashar hu hamakir hayosher v'haohevoso v'abochebro." So a yashar is someone who recognizes what is upright and loves it and chooses it. V'hu yisbol kol davar kasher sheyichayev lo hayosher, and he tolerates every harsh thing that uprightness demands. V'hu hanichna el ha'emes, and he subordinates himself to the truth. V'haboged, okay, boged is the opposite, which the literal translation is a traitor. Behefech kolzeh is the opposite of this. Einenu makir hayosh, he does not recognize what is upright. V'af im yakirenu, and even if he recognizes it, lo yodebo, he does not admit to it. Aval b'chol pulos av yaseh hefko, but he does all of his actions in the opposite. Is this the? Yeah. Okay. Fine. So the question is, does this fit into my definition or Zach's definition? Give me 1 second. It might fit both. So I'm gonna say, okay, I wanted to read that because it was clear, but let me just read. So my definition is based on Rabbeinu Yonah, which is someone whose mind and personality, or I guess emotions are drawn to the truth in, I guess to seek truth and live in line with the truth in all areas. Okay, and then Zach's definition was a person of integrity, okay, with no internal contradictions between their ideas / values and actions. So these are related, and then I'll go ahead and say Rabbeinu Bachya, because I think this is kind of both, is someone who subordinates his entire being to the truth. I guess I'll say the way he said it, someone who recognizes, loves, and chooses the truth and subordinates his entire being to the truth. So Rabbeinu Bachya kind of combines Rabbeinu Yonah and Zach, and it might be that these are all just facets of the same thing. I don't think these are necessarily different definitions. All right, so those are, let's just say, 2.5 working definitions of yashar. Okay, I'm going to paste this in the chat. Okay. All right. So now let's take our thinking man. And you don't have to feel confined to those definitions. If you think of another definition that you can infer from the pasuk, that's also good. All right. Let's think. I have another question. I'll just add it at the end. How is turning from bad, from Ra, even a path, right? Like, imagine a person who is trying to avoid a predatory animal, right? That's not going to lead you on a path, and certainly not a paved one, okay, which implies, like my mom was saying, implies some preparation in advance, right? In other words, it seems like avoiding Ra is reactive, and doesn't point you in a specific direction towards a specific destination. Okay, my intuition tells me that that's an important question. So we'll let that sit. Okay, looks like people have ideas, which is good news. Okay, Ariel, you're up.
Yeah. So I was thinking that, putting aside the definition of a yashar for a second.
Sure.
I think that, I think that this pasuk, really teaches you two different, two components of becoming someone who's a yashar.
Okay.
And I think the first one in the first half of the pasuk is, look, the path to becoming a yashar is not easy. It's gonna require you to really, every it's possible, like every decision you make, well, not every decision you make, but like there will be opportunities or challenges that you face that will be in conflict of, to do the right thing or not to do the right thing, or it may be like a temptation or whatever it is. But like you're gonna inevitably be faced with a situation where you're gonna have to make the right decision, and that is just the pathway to becoming a yashar. That is just natural. That's just what's gonna happen. And it's possible that up until you're a yashar, it's gonna be more difficult in facing those challenges, as opposed to someone who's either used to them or has a specific lifestyle that doesn't even relate to Ra in a way where it is tempting or whatever it is. It's the intensity of the challenge it's more for this guy, because he hasn't reached that threshold yet. Now you're gonna ask me, oh, what's the difference between a yashar and a complementary? I have no idea, but that's just a step that I have. And the second half of the pasuk is, it's going beyond than just turning away from the Ra. It's now you should actively put systems in place to protect yourself from Ra.
Okay,
that's a different level.
Okay, so you're learning the second is a higher level then, or is a further step in the development.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said in the beginning a clear definition of what you think the topic of this is. I think. Can you just repeat that if you remember?
Sorry, say that one more time. I'm trying to not hit this guy who's riding his bike in front of me driving right now.
Sure. I just said, did you state what the topic of the subject of the pasuk is? I thought I heard a good definition.
Oh man, I wasn't consciously aware of that, but I was just saying that I think this pasuk has to do with becoming a yashar, not
how to become
that
a yashar.
You are a yashar. It's just that you are on the pathway or on the direction of becoming, and you're going to be bound. You're going to be inevitably making these decisions.
Okay, so it's emphasizing the temptations you'll face to engage in Ra, and how you'll need to avoid those. Okay, and then the second half is a higher level of making sure. Now I don't exactly know where you got this from, but the way he says there are systems in place to avoid Ra. I mean, I like that distinction between avoiding a particular Ra versus the systems, but I'm not sure how you get that from the second half of the pasuk.
Well, protecting. Protecting.
Okay.
I mean, by the definition,
I see.
Protecting is you have to do something to protect yourself. You have to create some sort of shield and whatever, like whatever it is.
So avoiding versus protecting. In other words, it's avoiding versus protecting. Yeah, Isaiah?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like maybe necessary for this idea, but like I don't see a clear definition of why it's a Mesilas here and not like any kind of other derived.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. And I think another question is, I don't know if this is part of my my question or if this is another one. I'm just going to tack it on to the end here, which is, if this is a path to become a yashar, one would expect the path to be, I guess, oriented towards some positive good and not just avoiding bad. So yeah, I think that is what
Wait, isn't that a good? Isn't avoiding bad a good?
No. In fact, there's a good pasuk that probably came up in my first search. Let me just find out where it is. It's in Tehillim. Hold on. Tehillim. 34:15. Sur meira ba'ase tov. Oh, there's two of them. Tehillim 37:27 also. Sur meira va'ase tov. Turn away from bad and do good. And I actually think that Rabbeinu Yonah on the first pasuk in Mishlei references this. Give me 1 second, because I think there's a good Rabbeinu Yonah on this, if this is what I'm thinking of. Hold on just 1 second here. Yeah, okay. I'm going to read this Rabbeinu Yonah. This is a good one to refresh my memory. So Mishlei, the second pasuk says, when stating the goals of Mishlei, is ladas chachma mussar, to know wisdom and discipline. Chibir Mishlei Shlomo ladas v'mimenu chachma mussar. So Shlomo compiled Mishlei to know from it wisdom and discipline. Chachma, what is wisdom? Is midas hatzadikim, is the traits of the righteous. V'darchei ha'emes, and the ways of truth, v'hatzedek, and righteousness, asher yodia v'yivar b'sefer hazeh, which he teaches and clarifies in this book. Mussar, and discipline, who genus harushaim, is the degradation of the wicked, v'hoda'as hanezek v'hafsed hamegim mehem, and teaching us the harm and loss that comes from them. V'tire harbe mikras b'sefer hazeh, miktas hamikra medaber al midas hatzadik, miktas b'genus midas harasha. You'll find many verses in this book that half of the verse speaks about the behavior of the tzaddik and half about the degradation of the traits of the rasha. V'roi liyaser nafsho tchila laharchik midas haresha v'lihios gadur mimena shelo yachshilehu hayetzer aleha be'itim asher yikir mikrehu lisgaber lishlet ba'adam. So first thing a person needs to do is to discipline his soul, to distance himself from the conduct of the wicked, and to fence himself in so that he doesn't stumble when his yetzer, when his inclination overpowers him on occasion. The achar kach, and then afterwards, yargil nafsho la'alos b'malos midas hatzadik. Then he should train his soul to ascend to the level of the conduct of the tzaddik. V'da, and you should know, ki lo hanimlat v'hamatahir miderach midas harasha ola midas hatzadik. Do not think that simply escaping and purifying yourself from the path of the traits of the wicked will automatically lead you to the traits of the tzaddik. Because it's at the opposite end of the spectrum of tzedek and yashar, of righteousness and uprightness. And it's in the middle. And it's impossible to get without toil and work. So I don't exactly know what that last part means, but what he's saying is there's two distinct steps. There's sur meira, is avoiding the bad, and then there's aseh tov, is developing the good, and you have to engage in both steps, and it's not, Rabbeinu is going out of his way to say it's not automatic. Like, don't think that just because you avoid the bad, then that's automatically going to be bringing you to the good. And so that's I think where my question is coming from intuitively here, which is, how can he say, if this is talking about a path that leads to becoming a yashar, how can you just say avoid bad? Like, that's not a path. That's just avoiding bad. A path, you need something to actually be taking you to the good. So I think that's so Arya, I think I like the general approach, but I think the question that we need to focus on to develop it more is, what's the positive path? That's where my intuition is taking.
Okay, just a couple of thoughts. It's possible that it's not a yashar is, it's not a yashar is not a tzaddik. That's one. This is just like the first step to this is just on a journey to becoming more of an elevated individual in your own perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not disagreeing that you also have to do the good, but this is just letting you know that the first thing you got to do is I guess, I don't know, cleanse your soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that in itself, it look, depending on what you mean by good, I'm not using the good as like a Tehillim type of good. I just mean it's good in the sense that you have at the very least relieved yourself from this lifestyle or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's going to negatively affect you.
Okay, so that's a good point, and I do want to just point out, I just added to the question number 5? No, not number 5. What did I just add to? Number number 3. What is the relationship between a yashar and a tzaddik or a chacham? So I think we've gone back and forth on this question over the years. Is that I think according to Rabbeinu Yonah, a yashar is on a higher level than a tzaddik, because a tzaddik is just making decisions that are for the benefit of the system, but the yashar is actually drawn to the truth in terms of his emotions. Like, in other words, you could be a Mishlei tzaddik, I think, even if your emotions are not all in line with tzedek, as long as you're making decisions that way. But a yashar is like, perfected to the point where he's drawn towards that. Or you can say, like what Zach said, which is that tzaddik and Rasha and yashar and boged are on completely different axes, where tzaddik and Rasha have to do with how you make decisions vis-a-vis others, but yashar and boged have to do with your internal calibration. And according to that, then what Ariel's saying is it could be true, is that maybe yashar is not fully developed, and so maybe the path of the yashar starts with the first step of just avoiding ra. So I'm just going to take this down here for a second. Here is that perhaps this is only stating, I guess, only teaching us how to get onto the path of the yashar, and this is a first step, not a full developmental program. Now, I know what Isaiah is going to say, which is, well, I don't know what Isaiah is going to say, but I suspect that Isaiah is wondering right now, why is it even talking about a Mesilas then? Like, what's the Mesilas? Like, we're not getting a Mesilas idea. So I think that still could be developed. But I think this is a good, a fair approach. Okay, let's get some other approaches onto the table, because I feel like this is going to be one of the pasukim where a lot of ideas are going to converge. Rivki.
Okay, so I had it clear in my head before, but I feel like there's just so much going on.
I know,
so
there's a lot going on.
hopefully it turns out okay.
Okay.
But I was actually thinking the opposite in terms of the levels.
Okay.
I was thinking that I feel like, to me, like a lower level, also like another reason why I feel like the second half is a lower level is because it doesn't give like a specific character, which I think is much easier to just say, okay, well, like anyone can do this. You don't need to be on a, specific, it's been a long day, a specific character development level to do this. So that's why I think it's easier to just protect yourself and be in protective mode. And I think like nefesh could be like either like your soul or like yourself as a person. Like, I don't really have like a derech there. Yeah, so that's why I think that the first level is just, you're not differentiating necessarily between like tov and ra. You're just like protecting yourself because you don't want to be influenced. But I don't think that that's like the best way to live. It's not like the highest level that you could be on, obviously. I think that, maybe this is my modern orthodoxy talking, but I do think that if you're always in protective mode, you're not going to be able to like develop in the best way, because then you're not getting the benefits from gaining from the world and from the environment that's around you, which is where I think the first half comes in. That the reason that it's just, I know we're like, oh, like turning from raw, like that's such a simple level, but I don't think it's so simple, because I think once you're not in protective mode, you actually have to sort through what is actually raw and what is going to help me in my journey to become like the best version of myself, according to like, mussar and Torah and all the things that we want to develop ourselves with. And I think that's also why it says a highway, because like in my head, like a highway is just like, similar to what your mom was saying, like it's a straight, like easy, not easy, but more easy than like a dirt road path. And it's like taking you to a specific spot, which I think would be like, obviously that's like literally the journey of self-development, and like it's for yourself and for the system around you. And like through like just not always being on the defensive, but rather assessing how you could grow is how you're going to become a yashar. I don't know how this fits into like yashar versus tzaddik versus chacham, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you reading. I like the idea, even if it doesn't work out in the pasuk. We'll see if it works on the pasuk. But of just the I'm calling it indiscriminate protective mode, where you're just like, you know, you're not really recognizing the ra. You are just shielding against what feels ra. And that's a level. Like there are people who are not even like that, but it's a lower level. Yeah. Okay, I hear. Okay, Reza, you're up.
All right, so I'm imagining that the Mesilas, the highway, is like the particular life road that God has laid out for your soul. And it's differentiated from a path because it's like the most significant path. So it's like the through line of your life, and little paths can be divergences. So to fit the format of like first level, second level, perhaps the first level is recognizing that this highway is like the ideal path for your particular soul. And the second level is like really safeguarding that path. And I have another question about.
Hold on, I just missed that step. Say that
okay. Second part. So the second part would be guarding. So the first level would be recognizing this highway is like the ideal path for your particular soul. And the second level would be like safeguarding that in terms of like moving up the tiers of wisdom.
Okay.
This might be really off.
Okay, no, so it's hard to say. I'm holding on to my own idea also, which I feel like might complement this, but go ahead and talk out whatever
Okay.
idea you have. Yeah.
So I had a further question about the raw. So I'm wondering if there's any place for harms that actually help grow you and things that you have to go through that might be like on the sides of the highway.
Yeah.
So you're more staying in the middle of the highway versus finding another one, or like the harm would be like moving towards the sides of it. I'm like also still formulating this.
Okay.
But
yeah, I think it's a good question about to clarify what we mean about Ra, if Ra can help your development. I think that question points to the fact that Ra is really more like evil than harm, which is fine. Because I think, it's impossible not to be harmed, and harm can make you grow. But yeah. Okay, I'm gonna just sorry to cut in line, Isaiah. I just want to state my intuition here, which is also not a full idea, but this might help with some things. So this is like this is my intuition, okay? Intuition, which is perhaps Mesilas. Perhaps Mesilas. What? Why does it keep on? Perhaps Mesilas is the path, and derived is your walking on that path. Okay, so in other words, you need two things. You need a road, and then you need to stay on that road. So the road is determined by sur me'ra, by avoiding bad, which I still have my question I asked on Ariel on that, which is like, how is that a path? But then let's say that is your path. There's a separate thing of making sure that you don't veer from the path. So let's say the reason why I'm saying this now also because I think I got an idea from what Rifki was saying, which is like, just to make things easier here, let's say Torah. Okay, so Torah, you need to do two things with Torah. Okay, you need to know Torah itself to be able to identify what is bad and what you should avoid. So what is prohibited, okay, or what is like against Torah. But then it's not enough to know that, for example, that speaking lashon hara, that speaking detrimental gossip is bad. You also need to find strategies to like adhere to that track, like that you shouldn't deviate from that also. And those are two separate arts. And you have people who are very, very knowledgeable about being able to identify Ra, but they're horrible when it comes to like staying the course, you know, and then there are other people who are very good at staying on whatever course they're on, but they haven't found the path of avoiding bad, you know. So you need both. You need knowledge of the Ra, which you can use to map out a Mesilah. And then you need the personal qualities, which TBD, we'll have to determine what that is, to be able to stay on that path, which is, you know, being referred to here. Being referred to here as guarding your soul, okay, or guarding your trajectory. Okay, I don't know which one is exactly which. Yeah, but trajectory is a good word for what I'm describing. Okay, so that's my intuition. So I don't know. Again, this is not squarely in line with Race's approach or Rafi's approach, but I think it does overlap with both of them in different ways. Okay, Isaiah, let's hear what you're going to say, and then we'll try to put together some ideas.
Yeah, I think my idea is hovering around your intuition and Race's idea.
Okay.
So like what I was thinking is that the Mesilah is like a person's lifelong, has to do with it's like an intrinsic quality to a yashar. What makes someone a yashar is sur merah. Like it's both that it never becomes not sur merah, like they never move on from sur merah. It's like always, even on the highest level of yashar, like they're a yashar by turning away from good, and it also like is part of the definition of being a yashar. And so what does it mean, like, that someone who's shomer nafsho protects their path? Is that like, that's like a particular instance. So like in some time, like if you turn away from good, like you did do a good thing.
Turn away from good or turn away from bad?
Turn away from bad. If you turn away from bad, like you did protect yourself in that instance, but you didn't like accomplish being a yashar. You didn't like do the whole thing. Like being a yashar means always turning away from bad, like your entire life. Like that's what makes it a yashar. So like this shomer nafsho is like a good thing. It's like it is part of it, but it's just like a particular instance that like doesn't go outside of that. And like I guess I'm saying, like, don't fall into the trap of thinking that like you're done or that like you'll ever reach a point of not turning away from bad.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I like the distinction you're making. So I just want to talk it out a little bit, which is that, and I'm speaking about this mostly from experience talking with teaching high schoolers Mishlei, is that like you teach them Mishlei for like a couple months, you know, and like the way that they relate to it is like, you know, you show them, let's say, like a bad, like a Mishleic fool's decision, and they see very clearly like, oh, like I shouldn't, you know, be reckless and just assume that everything's going to turn out okay. Okay, noted. Like that's a harm, you know. And then you show them a pasuk about laziness, and how the lazy person, you know, the lazy person is fast asleep at the harvest time, or the shameful son. And then they're like, oh, okay. So like there's a separate idea, which is that, you know, time does not go on my schedule. I have to align myself with the built-in schedules in reality. So okay, I got it. You know, so like it starts off with like avoiding this harm and avoiding that harm. But then there's a certain point where it clicks and you're like, oh, this is a whole like way of operating, of like looking for consequences and avoiding them, you know? And like, that's like a certain way of operating. And that's like a real level up. And until you get to there, that's not a Mesilah, but, you know, it's just this particular thing and that particular thing. But then once you have once you've internalized this like way of thinking about decision making and consequences, where like, oh, it's a goal in every area to avoid bad consequences and to think about them ahead of time, that is a path. Now I'm still bothered by my question of it still doesn't feel like a smoothed out path. It feels more like a cutting off of a bunch of bad paths, but maybe that's what a Mesilah is. I don't know, but I'm still bothered by that. But I think the dichotomy Isaiah is pointing out makes sense. And I'm actually going to call on Isaiah first before I call my mom, because I want to make sure to capture his intuition fully. Yeah, Isaiah?
Well, I like what Race has said, that the Mesilah, it's a Mesilah in terms of being like an arc of your whole life. So I feel like it could be highlighting a different aspect of a highway other than smoothness.
Okay, so
It is also smoother in terms of like it takes you away from consequences and brings you to good more efficiently than not doing this.
okay, so like Reza said, it's the arc of your whole life. Okay. Yeah, still want to sit with that for a bit. Yeah. I'll call my mom next.
So I've been losing my internet connection. Sorry. I may have missed a discussion on this, but my brain still is trying to wrap around why highway and not path, which the path can be like unfinished. The highway is a finished paved road, and the choices as you go along, it's a way to get from here to there, and the choices that you make are the exits you take, which take you off toward other destinations that sometimes circle back to the highway. So I'm confused as to why they say path is the word is path and not, the word is highway, not path. Is that important at all?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to figure out. I part of the difficulty here is that I don't know what the words meant in 3,000 years ago or whatever. So we're all kind of just speculating here. The only thing I can say is that Mesila does imply smooth, which means either paved or like free from like obstacles, whereas like a derech is just like a very, very generic term, I think, for like something you walk on. Yeah.
Okay. That highway thing bothers me because if we're thinking thousands of years ago, there weren't toll booths.
No, there weren't toll booths. It's not that kind of highway, but there were paved roads.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just see if I can find. I don't think this word is used in the Chumash, but if it is, then we might have a picture. Hold on. Oh yes. Okay, so I don't know if we're gonna have a picture. But we have in Bamidbar, it says, "Vayumru elav bnei Israel." The children of Israel said to the king of Edom, "Bamesilah na'ale." We'll go up by the highway. Yeah. So let's just see if we go on our picture thing here. Nope, no highway. Oh no. Well, it's a map. That's not going to help us of the King's Highway. Okay, fine. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hold on. I have another book here. Let me just look in this book and see if this one has. Okay, this is in 2019. 20. Looks like we. Oh, okay. Here we go. We got something. And I do have a picture. Question is, how do I get the picture to you? Hold on. I'm going to just take a picture of this whole thing here and then send it to myself. Give me 1 second. What I am taking a picture from is, here's our book advertisement here. So I don't know if it is Koren that is having a sale, but I have to unblur myself here. Right. So I've talked about this a lot. The Koren Tanakh of the land of Israel. They have everything except for Devarim right now. It's published by Koren, so it's an Orthodox Jewish publication, and it has archaeological and like archaeology, Egyptology, like biology, botany, like all these nice pictures and stuff that and information about like the ancient context, the ancient world context that like the Chumash took place in. So it's good for getting facts like this. So I'll show you an example. Hold on, I'm just trying to open this here. Okay, so here is what we have from the book. So there's your picture, okay, and the caption says the term for beaten track. So they say beaten track. Mesila comes from the roots salal, meaning to cast up or to lift. As in the development of the word highway in English, a mesila means raised up in Isaiah 49:11. It refers to a main thoroughfare, but never to city streets. Jacob Milgram has compared this word to the Akkadian Haranzukinim, an infantry road prepared primarily for foot traffic, which would fit with the end of the verse that specifies that they would travel on foot, possibly carrying any necessities on their backs and leaving behind any supply wagons with which they might have traveled. Okay, fine. So, but you can see from here, this is like a much, much, much more sophisticated road than just a dirt thing that goes through a forest. So this is like, this requires people to say, we want to make travel as easy as possible. And this destination apparently is something that is important enough that, like, it is going to be a permanent feature. So that's all I got. Okay. Yeah, Ayala?
Is it possible that Mesila is also, like, it's saying specifically not a city road, like an inner city road? Is it possible that it could mean like connecting different things? And so like part of the idea could be like the Mesilas Yesharim is like, it's not saying that like these are the good things you're doing, but it's saying like the path that'll take you from one good thing to another.
Interesting. Your guess is as good as mine in terms of the implication of that. I just want to see one more source that might shed light on this, which is if the Malbim refers us to where he defines Mesila. Nivdal min derech shemor al derech kavusha. Okay, so let's see what he says here. In Yeshayahu 35:8. Oh, interesting. No, okay, those are flowers. That's not what I wanted to look at now. Malbim. Okay, Mesila hi hakavusha v'hadnig bahas begova. So he also says it's a beaten path that is raised. Kamo solu l'roche baravos v'derech hu derech harabim u'lerovye etlo Mesila asuya me'avanim l'shvil yechidim. Okay, so that's another thing. I don't know if this is factually, like, historically true, or if this is his theory based on the words, but he's saying that a Mesila is intended for individuals to walk on, whereas a derech is for the multitude of people to walk on. So that's another hint there. So I don't, so far we haven't seen anything that that suggests either way for what you're saying, but it's a possibility. Yeah, Mom.
So I think the bottom line is a road is a means of getting from one place to the other that is carved or prepared, like through a forest or over mountains or whatever. It is a prepared path that takes you from one thing to the other. And as you were talking, I was thinking of the term highway, and then your picture is raised. And there's an Irish blessing that says, may the road rise to greet you. So it's all positive stuff. It's positive connotations, which was interesting to me. So that I just parenthetically, I have a love-hate relationship with metaphors.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we now? So let's take stock and see if we could put anything together here. By the way, I want to just explain, I think, also where my intuition is coming from. I think Notzir Darko preserving his way, to me, like, is where I got the idea from, that you're staying the course. So there's the course, which is the Mesila, and then there's you keeping on your way, which means that you're not veering from, like, your intended thing, your intended destination, or your intended road. Let's just think about it a little bit more. I think if we can come up with we've got lots of nice pieces here. I think the strongest idea we have, and maybe I'm biased because this is what no, this is really what Isaiah was saying. So maybe I'm biased towards Isaiah, but I do think I do think we can answer the question now about how is this a path, which is that there is a path. Like, again, Isaiah's distinction between instances of avoiding particular bad things versus an approach to life in which you're making decisions to avoid bad consequences. The second one is a path. It's not a path in the sense that it has a distinct, they could, like, draw it on a map, because you can't predict where these bad things are going to be, but it's a path in the sense that also like what Reza was saying, where it's like this is the approach you're following in life. Like I know someone, I'm thinking about this this particular individual who has a very interesting relationship with decision making and Torah and life. Is that basically the last time I talked to him, he doesn't really like, he's not gung-ho about, you know, specific ideas in Torah. It's just that his whole orientation towards reality is avoiding dumb things and avoiding harmful things. And he finds Torah to be a good like way of doing that, you know? And so like it is a path, like a person who says, I want to avoid making bad decisions, that is going to like give you direction in life. And apparently that's enough to make you a yashar. But yeah, I feel like we need some help here. Are we ready to go to the Mefarshim and see if they can help us, or anyone have any other observations or steps to contribute? Tafi. Okay, let's look at some Mefarshim. We'll start as usual with the very short Metzudas David. So Metzudas David, which I've not translated yet, says Mesila derech hayisharim hi lasur meira. The derech, the way of the Yesharim is to turn from Ra. Ki yisbonenu b'darcham, for they contemplate their way, their derech. Shelo yavo'u lidei nidnud avon, so as not to come to a. I always forget what the word nidnud means. It's a funny word. Let's look it up. I'm going to use the Klein dictionary. Nidnud, because I don't think that's a biblical term. Nidnud is moving about or shaking, swinging, seesawing, rocking, teetering. Sorry, Alex. So as not to come to a what's a good, is there a good word for like turbulence, but not with an airplane? Like, can you have turbulence on a footpath or something that's the equivalent? Swerving is too violent. Meandering, maybe. Not, I know it's not like turbulence. Meandering of iniquity. Harotze lishmor nafsho, and one who wishes to protect his nefesh, yishmor darcho, should protect his derech, livli leches kvi hayizamin, so as not to walk in a happenstance way. Okay, so he's saying something specific. That's good news. Okay, so what is he saying here? Is he saying what I'm saying about the derech? That well, one thing you notice here, by the way, is he does not say what the Mesila is. So it sounds like he's just learning the two halves of the pasuk are referring to the same type of derech. So he's like throwing away the whole distinction. He's basically saying like this. Hold on. So Metsudas's translation is like this. The path of the upright is to turn from evil, and one who guards his life guards his path. So he's just taking out the entire distinction between Mesila and derech. So that makes things a lot easier for us. Okay, but now my question is he saying what I'm saying? I think he is, right? Because he's saying there's two things you need to do. There's the like decision-making policy that you're making, which is a singular principle: avoid evil. You know, first do no harm to yourself or to anyone else, and then, but you need to find a way to guard that path and make sure that you don't swerve from that policy. I'm just going to type that out and let's see if we can flesh it out here. Okay, his main idea is the Yashar operates based on one principle: avoid evil. However, to protect himself, he also needs to devise strategies to stick to that principle. Okay, so the question then would be how? But I think that's the way he's reading it. Again, feel free to call me out and if you think that this is not what he's actually saying. I mean, he is radically simplifying the pasuk by taking out Mesilas and derived. And I think the key here is the walking in a happenstance way. Ah, okay, so maybe that's it. Okay, meaning like this, meaning that when he's making conscious decisions, then he'll apply his mind to avoid the ra in that situation. But the obstacle, I guess the trap he could fall into is making haphazard decisions and letting down his guard. So he needs constant vigilance, to quote Mad-Eye Moody, to stay in Yashar mode and not throw caution to the wind. Yeah, Reza?
I wonder if the recognition of the highway emerges from like seeing the pattern of like avoiding. So you have to, like you were saying with teaching high schoolers or middle schoolers, like they recognize the pattern of like what to avoid enough so that they can sort of see what it all leads to, like what the formula is to kind of come to all those conclusions, and that becomes their road after a while. But
Interesting.
they can't trust that they know it. Like they have to keep devising it, like the constant vigilance.
Right.
They can't like assume they have the formula. They have to sort of
Right. You can't go on autopilot.
it.
Right.
What?
You can't go on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
You can't go on just because you have the formula, just because you have this formula doesn't mean you can go on autopilot, because that's where the Yetzer Hara evil inclination gets you. Yeah, Ayala?
So maybe like based off this, combining this is my own idea. Are we ready for that? It's like
Yeah, sure.
somewhere related to this, but
Actually,
okay,
sorry, but before I just want to give one example of this. And I've given this example before because I think it's really good. So there is a movie with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe called American Gangster, and it's based on a true story. I don't know which elements of the movie are true, but I'm pretty sure this one is true. Basically, this Denzel Washington is this African-American guy. Okay, big surprise. And he in New York, I believe. I think it was in New York. Actually, I don't remember where it took place. But basically, the Italian mafia controlled all the drug trade, and this Denzel Washington, he or that whatever the guy's name who he played, he basically like decided to cut out the middleman, and he went to Asia and like found and like started getting supplied illegal drugs supplied directly to him, and then he was able to like take over the market. And I'm gonna spoil the movie here. So cover your ears if you don't want me to spoil the movie. But I'm anti-spoilers, but when it comes to Mishlei, if it's a really good example, then I'm gonna use it. He was making tons of money, and the reason why he wasn't getting caught is because the cops didn't know who was running everything. And part of the reason for that, his success, is that he did not show off his wealth. And there was this one scene where he went to a fight, like a boxing match, and his girlfriend like bought him this expensive like chinchilla coat, and he wore it basically to make her happy. And suddenly all the cops realized like, oh, who's this random guy in front row seats in this expensive coat? We've never seen him before. And then he was on their radar, and then that's what eventually led him to get caught. So like every single step that he did was thought out, but then he had this one blind spot, which is, okay, I'll just wear this to make my girlfriend happy. And because he like allowed himself to swerve from this principle of avoiding all bad. Now, obviously, he was also living a life of a crime, so like that was his first mistake. But let's say like he made this mistake in another area, or let's say he it's the letting down of the guard that got him. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, Ayala, go ahead. What's your idea?
Okay, so I don't know exactly where it fits, but I was thinking maybe saying that the Mesilas Yesharim is turning from bad. Is that kind of that we would think of a Mesilas Yesharim as like what we were talking about, that it should be, that like you see this path going out in front of you, that like you kind of, it's like a positive path sort of that you have to like get on, and this is how you could get to being a Yeshar, or like this is how Yesharim go.
Yeah.
But that it's saying it's not that. Instead, it's actually guarding your, or turning from Ra, and saying that instead of looking at it, maybe we've been saying this somewhat, but instead of looking at it as like this path that you have to get on, you should look at each decision as like its own situation. And the way to create for yourself a Mesilas Yesharim is to look at each decision and say like, okay, what is the harm that I'm trying to avoid here? And like it, at every single turn, you look at it that way, you're gonna end up being on the highway of the Yesharim.
Okay, good. I think that is, I think that squarely addresses the thing that was bothering me from the very beginning.
Yeah, and then also just to add your point, I think, about the second half, saying that one who guards his soul protects his way. So the first half is saying like how to find the way, kind of, and then also just like to be, I don't exactly have a clear idea on the second half, but saying like to be even more vigilant about that in order to protect that, like stay on that path for yourself.
Okay, yeah. So the second half is telling you the other step you need, which is to protect, your to protect that path and stay on it. Yeah. There's a good quote also. I don't know if this is gonna be relevant, but it's a good quote anyway. Who said it? Was it Anne Lamott? Driving headlights. Yeah. Oh, so she was quoting someone else. E.L. Doctorow said once that writing a novel is like driving a car at night. You can see only as far as your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. So I think that's a good description of the type of path. And she said, we'll see if this is relevant. You don't need to see where you're going. You don't have to see your destination or everything you will pass along the way. Oops. You just have to see 2 or 3 feet ahead of you. This is right up there with the best advice on writing or life that I've heard. Okay, yeah, fine. So not exactly the same thing, but it's capturing the move that Ayala is talking about, which is, you're looking for, show me a roadmap where I see the entire path laid out and say, no, it's not that kind of path. The path is doing the work of avoiding the Ra in each decision-making area. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Mom?
So I keep going back to the highway metaphor and how, okay, this is really simplistic, that a highway implies movement, and you've heard of, talking the talk, walking the walk. Well, in this case, a way to good life is to walk the talk, because you can learn learn lessons up, forever, but unless you do something about it and put it into action, which I think that's why the highway metaphor is appropriate here, because it involves movement and hopefully forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true, is that this does involve action. I think that the only thing that I don't see in the pasuk is, this is what was bothering me in the beginning, is there's no positive action in the pasuk. It's only talking about avoiding the negatives. But it is, you're right, is that it has to be more than just ideas. It has to be the actions.
Oh, okay. Anyway, very simplistic.
Let's do Rabbeinu Yonah. I have not vetted this ChatGPT translation, so I'm going to go ahead and translate directly from the Hebrew. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the English, but it's on the screen if you want it. So he says, Mesilas Yesharim Surimira, Kvar Nemar, Ba'orach Yesharim Salut. Actually, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to read from my good Rabbeinu Yonah, which is here, because I don't trust the one on Torah. Okay, so Kvar Nemar, it was already said, V'orach Yesharim Salula, that the path of the upright is smooth. Okay, and that's using a different word for path, which is orach. Kimishu yashar b'tivo, someone who is upright in his nature. Shenichsaf el hayosher umakir hamesharim, he yearns for uprightness and recognizes that which is upright. Ye'aser b'tivo limshol barucho, his nature, meaning his personality, will help him to conquer his emotions. Okay, so in other words, if you are, I'm going to actually summarize this point by point. What's the best way to do this? I don't even know. Let's do summary. Okay, so if you are a yashar, okay, someone whose mind and personality are drawn to the truth, then your personality will help you rule over your emotions. In other words, you have I mean, this is true of any emotion in the sense of like, if you are naturally a kind person, then if you're in a situation where you could have potential conflict, your kindness in your personality will kick in and make it easier for you to overcome the temptation to like not be kind, So same thing with the Yashar. Okay. The Ata Yodenu, now it's so that was the previous pasuk, or whatever the pasuk was, and it was in 15:19. The Ata Yodenu ki hayasharim yishtadlu barishona l'sur me'ra. Now he's telling you that the Yashar, the Yesharim strive first to turn away from Ra, ulizar mikol chet, and to guard against any sin. Because the first thing a person is obligated to do is to contemplate all of his ways first, and to improve his character traits, and to distance them from sin. And so as to not find in his hand, in his soul, any trait that could be the cause of sins or bring about iniquity or cause stumbling blocks. Okay, a lot of synonyms there. Okay, so that's the second point, which is the first step that a person must take is to avoid evil and to uproot everything in their personality that could cause them to do evil. Okay, next is he says ki batchila, where am I on the screen here? Oh, ki batchila, because initially roy al ha'adam lihishamer shelo yisrachik min habore yisale. I don't know why he's saying initially twice. I thought you said initially you have to. All right, whatever. Person should guard against anything that distances him from his creator. Lo aide avonos, lo aide midos hamolidos avonos vasnuos l'shem yisale. That distances him from his creator through iniquities or through character traits that give rise to iniquities that are hated to Hashem. The achar kach, and then afterwards, yitain libul esof tevuas maasim tovim. Then he should take it to heart, meaning he should make it his goal to gather the produce or of good actions, uliyasher darche zulaso, and to straighten out other people's paths, v'lilmod ulalamed, and to learn and to teach, v'lilmod maasim ulis karv labor yisale, and to learn deeds and to draw close to the creator, b'malas ahavaso v'yiraso, in terms of love of God and fear of God. Okay, so he is going with my intuition here. He's saying that there is more to being a yashar than just this, is you also have to like perfect yourself in positive ways. Okay, I'm not going to summarize until the end. Veloshin Mesila, the expression of Mesila, derech salula means a paved path. Yeshara is upright or straight. Musukelas me avne michshol, with all stumbling blocks removed. Shemagin mimenu lemechos chayfetz, that you get to your destination. V'haya sham maslu v'derech. V'haya Mesila, lemisila ha'olah. Okay, so he's giving examples. Hine aide surme ra, by turning from ra, yagiu ha'yisharim lema'alos yiras Hashem yisrael v'avaso. Then the Yesharim will rise to the level of fear of God and love of God. Usugulas hamasim ba'avodaso kol hayom, and they will have the distinction of doing acts of service to God all day. V'yagiu min hazihirus lazrizus, and then from this caution you'll come to zrizus, which is like alacrity. Ubir hadrachim ha'ele ba'sha'arim, and we explain these things in his book Shari Tshuva, I think. Okay, so summary here. So he's saying the first step you have to do is to avoid evil and improve everything in the personality that could cause them to do evil. Okay, whether sins or character traits that give rise to sins. Okay, then he should work on his positive actions and on learning and drawing close to God in fear and love of Him. Okay, so it's a two-step process. Okay, so now he's saying, now we got to go to the second half. Shomer nafsho notzer darko. Hine harod. Behold, you see, ki yesod malas hayisharim. The foundation of the perfection of Yesharim, lasur me'ra, is to turn from evil. V'hu ikar hishtadlus b'chila. That's their main striving at first. V'afal pisha Yesharim ne'ezarim b'tivam v'karov lahem lasur me'ra v'lichvosh yitram. Even though it is the Yesharim are assisted by their personalities, and it's easy for them to turn from evil and to conquer their inclination. Amnam, nevertheless, biad kol adam linsor darko. It is within the control of every person to guard his path of lasur me'ra, and to turn away from evil. Anyone who wants to guard his soul, yinsor darko v'yichvosh es yitra, should guard his path and conquer his subdue his inclination. V'nismach hamikra le'inyan hachachma. This pasuk is juxtaposed to the pasuk about chachma, which was last week. Ki hayisharim makdimim lihishtal b'yiras chet lifnei hishtadlus b'chachma. Because the Yesharim start off in striving for fear of sin before they strive in chachma. V'yasuha mesila l'chol hamalas, and they make it a smooth path for all virtues. As we learn in Pirkei, anyone who makes his fear of sin precede his chachma will last. Again, the last part, shomer nafsho noter darko, hitikun nefesh, because the improvement of the soul, bitikun midos, is through improving your midos, uvahafshit levush tavas hahanos me'aleha, and to divest the garment of desire of pleasures from upon yourself, to the point where it won't make you stumble in sin. Because through that, the soul will be guarded from sins and distancing oneself from the Creator. After you've saved yourself from distancing yourself from God, yikrav biyada, then you could get close at hand, to draw close with good deeds and holy avoda. So that was a very, very lengthy way of saying what I think is a very, clear point, which is, you might think that since the Yashar, actually, I'm going to just say this is the main idea here. Okay, so I think this is the main idea. Okay, which is, you might think that since the Yashar is defined as someone who is attached to truth, then he should work primarily on learning and chachma and love and fear of God, and good deeds. Okay, this pasuk teaches us that even though this is part of the Yashar's perfection, the foundation is turning away from Ra. Once he establishes that foundation, his personality will assist him in climbing the rungs to the higher levels. But if he tries for Chachma first, his imperfect personality and remaining bad midos will drag him down. Okay, so that's a very interesting thing. I think this is a universal mistake that people make in many areas of craft or in skill, which is that they assume that the most prominent feature of the master craftsman is the thing that they should be working on. So let's say, for example, you see someone who is really attached to truth and learning, and you think, oh, the thing that's defining them is their learning, so I should work on my learning. And it's true you should work on your learning, but that just because they have that perfection now does not mean that that's how they got there. What they did was they worked on their personality and on Mishlei for many, many years until they've worked out their personality so that it smooths out the path, so that when they actually do start to try to train themselves in good actions, then their personality will not oppose them. Okay. Once you have this foundation and have smoothed the paths of midos, then once you start working on learning and on your good actions, your personality will assist you rather than hinder you. Okay, so that's, again, this is like, this is what everyone who's not in this year is missing out on, is like, you got to train in Mishlei for years or decades, and you might think, like, oh, if I'm training in Mishlei, like, I'm not working on all the stuff that, like, defines a tzaddik in the way that the Torah defines a tzaddik. Well, yeah, you're not yet distinguished by those good actions, but you're paving the way for that, you know? And once you actually start working on like your chachma or on those good actions, it'll come easy to you because you've already done all the groundwork with the midos. Whereas if you try leaping into that first, so then your personality is going to get in the way and like draw you away from it. So it's a really important insight. You know, why mussar has to be the foundation before you get into chachma. Okay, that ended up being good. Very, you know, I've said this before. Rabbeinu Yonah is so inconsistent in how wordy he is. I feel like this was very, very, very long-winded way of saying this point, but I think this is his main idea. So it's possible I'm missing something in Rabbeinu Yonah, but like maybe some of his lengthy sentences had other ideas in it. Okay. If anyone has any questions, I'll take them. If not, I think I'd like to wrap it up for tonight, and a little bit early tonight. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to go and review all of the ideas the half-baked ideas that we had. I just want to mention the things that stand out to me the most, which is the mafarshim we did. The two ideas from Metzudas David / Ayala, and then Rabbeinu Yonah. So Metzudas David's idea was not distinguishing between a highway and a path. He's saying that the Yashar's path is not a path that exists paved in the ground from point A to point B that he just needs to find and get on. The path is the avoidance of evil, and that is a positive derech in the sense of it's a way of thinking about decision making in life. And the thing is, though, is that in order to take that path to being a yashar, then you need to be vigilant and to not let down your guard and go on autopilot, but you need to apply it consistently across the board. And I think, by the way, that I think it's safe to say that the path, Mesilas Yesharim, does not mean that this makes you that this constitutes being a yashar. I think this is the path to become a yashar, but there is greater development in being a yashar, which is what Rabbeinu Yonah is focusing on. But I think this is the path that you need to stay on. And I think Rabbeinu Yonah would agree with this idea, is that this needs to be present at all times. And the yashar can't rely on his personality to just automatically kick in, even though he has an advantage that his midos will help him. And then Rabbeinu Yonah's idea is what we just said, which is that don't think that because the yashar is defined by his relationship to truth and learning and chachma, don't think that that's what he should start working on. The beginning and the foundation is perfecting the midos and removing all of these stumbling blocks, and that will give him a personality that allows him to freely engage in learning and doing mitzvos without hindrance, without these internal conflicts. So he needs to devote himself to really paving this path in order to be able to develop as a yashar. And to answer my mom's question from the beginning, he's the one who's paving his own path. It's not a path that exists out there. In fact, I think maybe that's the metaphor, is that I'm going to just write this down here. I think this is a good extension to what Ayala was saying, is a possible metaphor is the paved path isn't out there. Rather, the yashar paves his own path by removing the bad midos. And if once he succeeds in this, he is left with a smooth path to the real yashar development, which is in the mind and in one's good actions. So he's paving his own path. There's no path out there that you could just find. Yeah. Okay. Tough puzzle, but I like these two ideas from the Mefarshim, even though we didn't get our own exactly. But yeah, I think that's good. Okay, let's stop for tonight. So just really quickly, schedule-wise, next week should be good, the 9th. The week after that should be good as well. And then the week of the 22nd, God willing, is my solo cabin retreat week, and we will not have a shiur during that week. Okay, but after that, we should be back on track. Okay. Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a good night. Good luck
Thank
paving.
you.
Happy paving.
Good night.
Good night.